Dr. Fred Fowler, and that will be backed by Mr. Walter Davis. If Mr. Walter Davis will work his way to the front, please. Is he already out? Okay, please. Sir.
Yes, sir. I'm Fred Fowler. I live at 309 West Hills Road. I'm pastor of the West Hills Presbyterian Church. Been in Knoxville for 30 years. This is one of the most difficult issues I know that we face in this age. I simply want to note several things as to whether homosexual preference, the sexual preference is what they say, is something which is natural, genetic, something that is chosen. I know as far as Dr. William Wilson, professor of psychiatry at Duke University Medical School, he says there's no evidence that genetic or hormonal factors play any role in the development of homosexuality. I could read from many others. Do we give the person who is guilty of incest special rights? Do we give the person who is an adulterer special rights? There are 15 sins that are suggested in Scripture that are called immorality. Wrong. Homosexuality is dealt with in 6 different books within the Scriptures. In Genesis, in Judges, in Leviticus, in Romans, 1 Timothy, and in 1 Corinthians. There isn't one of them that finds anything right about it. The laws of God are still the laws of God, whether we are saved by grace or not. It's fascinating that 90% of those that come in this lifestyle, as they say, come from broken family relationships. And while I thought that AIDS would diminish that number, I find that the broken number of families we have, which is greater and greater every year, is going to add to the homosexuality, the homosexual numbers, because of the broken relationships. 75% of those who are lesbian women were incest victims. 25% of the homosexuals, incest victims. Incest, love of a father for a son or a daughter. Why can't we recognize that as some sort of a righteous minority? God doesn't hold a person responsible for being a fallen victim, but he does hold him responsible if he stays a victim. A learned response can be unlearned. And this is something that takes place early in age. Recovery rate is very high. 50 years ago, they said alcoholics couldn't recover at all from alcoholism, and now 50%, maybe more. Statistics tell us that those that go into recovery from homosexuality, 79%, much higher. I'm very familiar with works that are done in Memphis, in Orlando, in Philadelphia, where there are hundreds in each of those programs. The fact is that they're coming out now. It doesn't mean that they don't have relapses. Any of you that have gotten out of smoking know that 10, 15 years from now, you may smell the smoke and have desire. And the difference is whether you work or act on that desire or whether you restrain yourself. I know what Scripture says when it comes to the woman who was found in adultery. The Lord forgave her, and every one of us can be forgiven of sin. But the Lord also said, go and sin no more. And we realize that that should be a response of any of us who are outside of the laws, which are still vogue, even though they were written in the Old Testament. Thank you very much for the opportunity of sharing these moments.
Thank you, sir.